Hello, everyone. It is holiday season, and are you ready for all of your ancestors to begin to gather? This is what my video is going to be about, to help describe to you as a psychic, as a clairvoyant, what I see happening in the spiritual world during our celebrations, our traditions, and our gathering for the holidays, and what's happening behind the scenes with your ancestors. My name is Nancy Rebecca with Intuitive Mind. I've been working with the ancestors pretty strongly now for about 15 years. So just want to give you a few little tips about how you can work together in relationship and in harmony with your loved ones on the other side to help your gathering be a little bit more settled. So I've got some notes here. I don't want to forget anything that the ancestors wanted me to say today. So I wrote my notes and you'll see me kind of looking down. So the ancestors are on the other side of the veil. So if you've never heard that term before, we have those of us, humans on the earth in this third dimensional world. And then in the spiritual world is where we have our ancestors, our loved ones, our guides, our angels, the ascended masters, the God of our heart, the celestial beings are all on different dimensions on the other side of the veil. They're always right there, kind of snuggled up, always willing to help. But we as humans, sometimes we can kind of forget. We don't realize that they're there because we are here to have our human experiences, and they are there to observe, to love, to help heal and support where they can. And the holiday seasons traditionally are very high level times for that healing to take place. So that's why things always kind of feel a bit churned up, because it's supposed to, because there's a lot of healing that's taking place at the time. So let's get into this a little bit more. So I want to start off with a story. So I did live in South Africa way back in the year 2003. I lived there for a year, and I've probably made about 20 trips since then. The Sangomas there, the Zulu Sangomas, are the traditional medicine people, the traditional healers. And the way that they, and I might probably kind of oversimplify this, but if you come to them for healing and as a shaman, they're going to look at your ancestral, your family lines to see where the imbalances are. And then they may offer healing, yes, to you to help you to heal your ancestors, but they may offer, maybe a ceremony, an all-night drumming ceremony, creating meals to help heal your unsettled ancestors on the other side so that your life can get settled. So they work intimately with the ancestors. They had informed me when I was there for about 8 years. They kept telling me that the ancestors were calling me to learn their tradition. And at the time, I didn't quite understand it. And so I continued to say no. So finally, in 2015, the calling became quite strong. I did go over there for about a period of 3 years to train in that tradition. So that's where I'm kind of speaking from. But it was about 12 years ago, Yvonne and I hosted 2 Sangomas. We helped raise money and we flew them over here, helped them get visas to tour over here for about 3 months. And they happened to be here during the Thanksgiving holiday. And one of them said that he was so excited because he said, I've always, we don't have a Thanksgiving holiday in South Africa like you do here in America. And we always see it in the movies, and we hear about it and read about it in books and see it on the news. And he said, I've always wanted to be here during an American Thanksgiving holiday so I can see what the ancestors are doing in the background while the food's being prepared and while the family's gathering. So he was super excited about that. And that was 12 years ago. I had never really thought about that before. The other Sangoma woke up that day, had intended to attend, but that the healing that was going to take place that day was so enormous that they were quite overwhelmed. And they said, I would not be able to enjoy the traditional meal because I would be working so much as a healer during that event. I wouldn't be able to relax very much. So I'm going to opt to stay home. So I share that story with you because for those who are the shamans who are very sensitive to the ancestors, they could really sense what was taking place, and often we're kind of oblivious to that. So I'm hoping to kind of awaken you to another level of understanding. Let's see. So like I said, one was quite joyous and the other one was like, yeah, I would be working too hard, so I'm going to step out. And at the human level, it's kind of the same thing, isn't it? Where some of you at the human level are so excited to get together with family, and yet there are other family members that feel a little bit overwhelmed. The energy is a little bit overwhelming. So those family members might be so sensitive that they just can't gather with the family. So maybe that just offers you a little bit of insight as to why that might happen as well. The ancestors, and I, working as a medium, what I've noticed is that they have one main intention, and that main intention is to raise the frequency of the family during these holidays to that state of love, that state of unconditional, unattached love. And if the family cannot rise to that state of unconditional love within the gathering, then they will move in the background. The spirits will move around the room in the background. They'll help shift and change the energy in the background to help heal, balance, harmonize the gathering so that you all can have an easier time uplifting or at least moving towards that state of love. So love and healing are their two main goals. All cultures have traditions. All cultures have holidays. They have times that they celebrate. So here in the United States, we have our Thanksgiving holiday in November, but Canada has theirs, I think, in October. But whether it's you're Muslim or Hindu or Catholics, Baptist, what am I trying to think of? Sufism. There's lots of different, in Indonesia and China and Buddhism, there's a lot of different cultures. So they celebrate different holidays. But what I know is that there's many in the world where this kind of season between October, November, December into January, into the new year, that's another time of celebration. Enormous, enormous times of ancestral gatherings to help the collective consciousness heal and return to that state of love. So this, you can be assured that this enormous mass conscious healing is going to take place during this time. The categories of ancestors that are going to be attending your holiday meal as your family gathers are, you have blood ancestors, genetic ancestors that are ancient, highly ascended spiritual souls. They've been on the other side for a long time. They go back thousands and thousands of years. Some of your ancestors go back to the beginning of time. Some of your ancestors came from the stars that are star beings that contribute that celestial galactic light to your ancestral lines. So you have quite a high level of ascended ancient ancestors that are going to be attending your gathering. Why? To help uplift to that state of love, but through healing. Then you're going to have most of your ancestors that are attending are going to be what I call your settled ancestors. That means that that they're settled. They've been able to bring healing and harmony to their life, whether it's through their relationship with you, but they are moving towards that higher ascended light. They are gradually kind of that stair step pattern journey of heading more to that ascended state, but they're not quite there yet, but they most certainly are in that state of healing, wholeness, and love. However, you're going to also have ancestors who are unsettled, that they've crossed over, and they have probably crossed over with some unresolved issues, and they're still a little unsettled. So you can have ancestors that are unsettled that attend your gathering. And often it's our more recent ancestors, and I say more recent is between the first generation to the fifth, sixth, seventh generation. Sometimes they can still be a little unsettled, a little unsteady on their spiritual feet. If you have a gathering that's full of a lot of unsettled ancestors, your gathering has the potential to be unsettled. However, they are there for the love and the healing as well. So you really want to call in the more settled ancestors, and you definitely want to call in the ancient ascended ancestors, so that everyone gets a healing. And isn't that the same for family, right? You're going to have human family members who feel quite settled, quite joyous, quite happy. You're going to have some of the family that participates that maybe mostly settled, but maybe a little bit unsettled. And then you're going to have family members that gather during this time that are in an unsettled state. Their life is drama, chaos. They're coming and they're bringing in that drama and the chaos into the home, which can cause your home to feel unsettled. But what I want to stress here is you have your ancestors that are in the background that are helping. Everyone is getting a healing. Everyone is shifting. Everyone is changing. There's healing that's happening in the conversations. There's healing that happens when you reach over and you touch someone's hand and I've just really missed you this year. There's healing that happens when you feel compelled to reach out and give a hug. So there's a lot of healing that takes place within that gathering that's really, really important. Even if it feels so unsettled, it's much better to move through that unsettledness than it is to remain stuck and not speaking. And if you come from a family that nobody is speaking to each other, or it feels really unsettled, just call on your ancestors, call on the ancient ascended ones, and say, wow, we need some help here. We need some help. Help us to settle, please. So, and then on top of all that, then you have the ascended masters like Jesus or Buddha or Mary or Sophia, archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, Ariel. They all can come in and just have a big love fest. I mean, it has this potential to have a great love fest. Your relationship with your ancestors is a relationship. It is relational. Every time you heal, they heal. Every time they heal, you heal. When I had my very first Sangoma bones divination reading in South Africa, it was not something I was looking for. My mother had come to visit me when I was living in South Africa, and I asked her what would she like to do, and she said, two things. I want to go around and meet all the friends that you've made while you've lived here, and I want a bones divination reading from a Sangoma. Well, I hadn't met a Sangoma when I was first living there, so made a few phone calls. The word started spreading, and we were guided to be able to make an appointment to have a time with the Sangomas. So while my mother was going to get a reading, I thought, well, and my daughter was there too, so all three of us got readings. And when it was my turn, the Sangomas came through, and they said that I had a grandmother who had lived in this lifetime that she had passed. And in the last 10 years of her life, she lived her life in a wheelchair, that she hadn't been able to use her legs towards the end of the year, the latter part of her years, because she had come in with an agreement to fulfill a certain path, and she hadn't been able to fulfill that path. Therefore, her legs had stopped working, so she was in a wheelchair. Now, this doesn't mean that everybody who ends up in a wheelchair isn't on their path. That was just striking to me when they did that reading, and that they had expressed that through the reading. That's why she ended up in a wheelchair. But I share this story because they said to me she wasn't able to accomplish her path, and she is requesting that can she pass it on to you? Can she add her path to your path as a healer? She was supposed to work as a healer in this lifetime, but the societal norms, the religious norms, would not allow her to work as a healer. And she knew that I was already working as a healer, so she asked if I would take on the additional path and to fulfill her calling for her on her behalf. Well, you can imagine I wasn't quite sure about all this, so I wasn't sure. I didn't say yes. However, the Sangomas did give me some guidance about how I could find in my unsettled state how I could become settled. So when I got home, I made a meal according to the instructions of the Sangoma, a dinner for my grandmother. I filled a plate with food, and Yvonne and I sat there and we had candles. And then afterwards, I moved to a place of going into meditation and prayer. And I intended to communicate with her, but also communicate with my own spirit. Was this appropriate for me to do this? I did come to the conclusion to say yes. Once I said yes, that I would carry her calling with my calling, I would combine the two. There was enormous love, healing, and gratitude that just flooded into the room. Now, I share this because now that I've been working with the ancestors a lot, often your ancestors may not be able to fulfill their path, and they may pass it on to the next generation. And so we see this often even in trauma, intergenerational trauma, that trauma will be passed down to the next generation so that we can try to heal that through our own lives. So they're helping us on the other side to help heal it. We're helping them to help heal it. So the one thing that the ancestors want you to know is each and every one of you carry part of that joy, that thriving joy, and sometimes some of you agree to carry some of the burdens. So when you have family members that have had particular burdens in life, remember that they are sometimes carrying several generations of burdens on behalf of the ancestors. Why? To help heal the whole, to return us to a state of love. So again, when we gather for the holidays, especially, they're always doing this in the background, but especially the holidays, when we're gathering as family, they're going to come together to help shift, balance, harmonize, heal, and to help us get closer to that pure state of love. So let's see. So at the holiday gathering, the magic begins to swirl around as the ultimate intention for healing us into higher states of being settled in a harmonious way as a family. If there are many, many unsettled ancestors at your gathering may be quite chaotic. So I'm going to give you a few offer some tips, some suggestions that you can try at home. Yes, you will be, this video is being released on Thanksgiving morning here in America. However, you can always apply this, whether it's birthdays, whether it's special gatherings that your family, it's just for your own family, or whether it's a major holiday like Christmas and New Year. So it's important to meditate, to call in the ascended and settled ancestors. So the ancestors showed me once, because in the beginning in my learning with the ancestors, I wanted to heal all of my ancestors that were in pain. And what the ancestors explained to me was that when they're in an unsettled state, they have some unresolved issues. Trying to push them to heal faster than what they are capable of can keep them in a perpetual state of unsettledness. So we really want to do it kind of in a balanced, harmonious way. So the example they gave me was like at a big rock concert. So you've got the stage and they're showing all the lights on the stage. Now, I remembered when I went to the Elton John concert, my gosh, I think there were 20 or 30,000 people there. By the time I got my ticket, I was in the nosebleed section, like way up at the top, by the heating ducts and air conditioning ducts, like way up by the ceiling, but way down at the floor, you can see the tiny little stage. But fortunately, they have the great big screens so that I could see Elton John. And of course, they had the sound system everywhere. So, I really felt like I was deeply involved in it. But what the ancestors described to me was some of the ascended ancient ancestors, their vibration is so high, they can be right up at the stage, right where the enormous sound system is, that's just pounding, 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 and they're just rocking out like they can handle it all. The strobing lights, it's just like, give them more, they can handle it all. But there are some ancestors that need to be about halfway back. The lights are just a little bit too bright. The sound is just a little bit too much. They might need to wear like little ear protectors from the sound. And then they said the ones that are the most unsettled, they still want a little bit of that rock concert, that music, but they can only be way, way, way in the background to just get the little whiffs of the music. So they described this to me because they wanted me to know that it's our nature, because we love our loved ones. We want to push them up to the front. We want them to get the biggest healing. We want to uplift them and help them and want them to be able to get better, especially if they struggled and suffered the most. It's like our compassion really wants them to heal. But the ancestors are saying, we love that you want them to heal, but it's just too much. So in your family gathering, you want to maybe sit in meditation in the morning or maybe weeks leading up to it. You want to light a little candle. You may offer them a cup of tea or a glass of water, or coffee is my favorite offering. You might want to offer a little bit of food. Maybe you want to burn some incense, whatever it is, place some flowers there. But then you want to start talking to them and you want to ask for the presence of your guides and angels. You want to ask for the presence of your ascended ancient ancestors. You want to ask that your settled ancestors gather that are offering healing and love. And then you want to say, those ancestors who are unsettled, but you're strong enough to handle the energy of the healing, we welcome you to kind of gather around the outside of our gathering. So just to let you know that that's very helpful. I guess if you're kind of thinking about the different layers and how that works, you want to call in the stronger ones, the more ascended ones first, the settled ones, and then the unsettled ones just on the outside so they can still enjoy the healing, but it's not too intense, too overwhelming for them. And if you do that, you're going to find that your guests who gather are also going to feel a little bit more settled. But I just want to add one more tip before I'm finishing up here. If you have a family that has a lot to heal, and there are a lot of us out there, we have a lot to heal, and you have family members that are very sensitive, one of the things is that animal spirits, they have this way, animals are very sensitive. I mean, you just think about dogs and cats, house pets. When I was going through my own cancer treatment, my dogs just snuggled into me all the time because they're very healing, and they heal through feeling. They heal through feeling. And they have this kind of soft, comforting sense about them. So if you know that your family that's gathering may be doing a lot of healing, may have some really sensitive family members that might feel a little uncomfortable coming in, really invite animal spirits to come in, whether it's bears or wolves or dogs or cats. Maybe it's birds or squirrels, hummingbirds. You can call them in. You can also call in trees. The tree people and the stone people are also really great energies to help kind of ground and settle the energy of your home. So we are entering into the holidays, and the holidays can be less destructive and very, very, very healing, the ancestor way. So I invite you to have your own experience with that, and please make a comment in the comment section once you get through the holidays. I'd love to hear if you were able to try this exercise with your ancestors on your own, and what was your experience with it. And share this video with others, and subscribe to my channel just by clicking the subscribe button. Click the little bell. I release a new video each and every week. Happy holidays, everyone, from my ancestors to yours.